Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell just told Donald Trump to get his hands off the Federal Reserve for the second time in 2 weeks, and sources suggest this defiance might be the only thing preventing Trump's economy from complete collapse. We're not talking about typical disagreement between president and Fed chair. We're talking about reports that Powell is speaking directly to American public, to markets, to global economy, saying, "Don't worry, for as long as he's chairman, he won't allow Trump to influence Fed's independence." That Trump has tried attacking Powell, including opening criminal investigation into building renovation, going after Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, all in effort to get his hands on money supply.
On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure.
And what might make this moment so significant is the economic data Powell is navigating. Consumer confidence at worst levels since 2012, worse than COVID lockdowns. Oil prices skyrocketing from $58 per barrel in December to $70 now. US dollar at weakest levels we've seen. Trade deficit doubling despite tariffs supposedly designed to fix it. When Fed chairman has to publicly defy sitting president twice in 2 weeks to protect central bank independence, that's not normal monetary policy disagreement. That could be fight for whether American economy survives Trump's chaos. But before we break down why Powell's defiance matters and what catastrophic economic numbers reveal about Trump's failed policies,
the threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
Real quick, you cannot trust mainstream media to connect Trump's attacks on Fed independence to broader economic disaster he's creating. That's why we built John Brown's show, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want analysis that actually explains how Powell is standing between functioning economy and complete Trump-induced collapse, hit that subscribe button right now. All right, let's get into what Powell said and why sources suggest his refusal to bend to Trump pressure is critically important. Because Powell's message was clear. Fed independence exists in every advanced democracy because monetary policy can be used through election cycles to affect economy in politically worthwhile ways. That if you lose independence and people lose faith, that Fed makes decisions based on what's best for everyone rather than benefiting one group, it's hard to restore credibility.
The point of independence is not to protect policymakers or anything like that. Every advanced economy democracy in the world has come around to this common practice. It's just an institutional arrangement that has served the people well. And that is to have a separation between, to not have direct elected official control over the setting of monetary policy.
And he stated directly that Fed hasn't lost that independence. He doesn't believe they will. He certainly hopes they won't. Think about what that means. Fed chairman is publicly declaring he won't let president politicize interest rates. That's extraordinary statement revealing extraordinary pressure Trump is applying. And it comes as economic indicators show Trump's policies are failing catastrophically across every metric. Let's start with consumer confidence because sources suggest these numbers are historically terrible. Reports indicate consumer confidence has crashed to worst levels since 2012, 14 years ago, well before COVID. Think about what that reveals. During COVID lockdowns, when people sat in homes wearing masks, scared out of their minds, they had more confidence in economy than they do right now under Trump. That's not minor dip in sentiment. That might be recognition that Trump's policies are actively making things worse. And consumer confidence matters because it drives spending. Our economy depends heavily on consumer spending as one of twin engines powering growth. When confidence collapses, people close their purses and checkbooks, they stop buying. That reduces demand, which leads to reduced production, which leads to job losses. Sources suggest survey results show worry about tariffs, trade instability, health insurance uncertainty, war threats, affordability concerns regarding groceries, electricity, and gas. Every policy area Trump touches is making people more anxious about economic future. But there's specific irony about gas prices. Remember those signs people posted claiming they missed Trump because of cheap gas and mean tweets? Well, you're still getting mean tweets, but gas is skyrocketing. Reports indicate oil prices have jumped from $58 per barrel in December to $70 now. That's $12 increase in matter of weeks, over 20% rise. And it's driven entirely by Trump's saber rattling against Iran. When you threaten military action against major oil producer, traders panic and prices spike. Sources suggest every American paying more at pump can thank Trump's reckless foreign policy. And there's broader commodity story. Gold prices are at record highs, 2 to 3 times what they were a year or two ago. That's not coincidence. When people flood into gold, it means they're looking for safe haven. They don't trust government-issued currency. They don't believe in US dollar. Reports indicate dollar is down 2%, among weakest we've seen. That combination of skyrocketing gold and collapsing dollar reveals that investors worldwide are losing faith in American economic management under Trump. Share this video with everyone you know because there's trade deficit disaster. Trump claimed his tariffs would fix trade imbalance between exports and imports. But sources suggest the numbers show opposite happened. Exports are down 4%. Imports are up. Trade deficit has doubled, worst performance in last year. Think about why that happened. When you attack and demoralize major trading partners like Canada, Mexico, and European Union, they stop buying from you. Meanwhile, importers figured out ways to beat tariffs through logistics, bringing goods through different ports with different ships. Reports indicate Trump's signature economic policy has failed completely, making problem he claimed to solve significantly worse. But let's talk about Powell's first public defiance 3 weeks ago because sources suggested established pattern of Fed chairman refusing to be intimidated. Reports indicate Trump administration opened criminal investigation into Federal Reserve related to building renovation costs. Think about how absurd that is. They're renovating 200-year-old buildings. After COVID, construction costs and supply chain expenses increased dramatically. That's not scandal. That's normal consequence of economic conditions everyone understands. But Trump used that pretext to serve Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas threatening criminal indictment related to Powell's Senate testimony. Sources suggest that was naked attempt at intimidation designed to make Powell fear personal legal jeopardy if he didn't comply with Trump's demands on interest rates. And Powell responded by going public with video statement explaining what was really happening. He said unprecedented action should be seen in broader context of administration's threats and ongoing pressure. That threat of criminal charges is consequence of Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on best assessment of what serves public rather than following president's preferences. Think about how remarkable that statement was. Fed chairman publicly accusing sitting president of using criminal justice system to intimidate central bank. That's not subtle diplomatic language. That's direct allegation that Trump is abusing power to undermine Fed independence. And Powell declared he would continue doing jobs Senate confirmed him to do with integrity and commitment to serving American people. Sources suggest that was declaration of independence from presidential control that established Powell wouldn't back down regardless of threats. But now Powell has done it again with his latest statement about Fed independence, and why sources suggest this repetition reveals sustained Trump pressure campaign. Because Powell didn't need to address this topic again unless threats were continuing. His decision to speak publicly second time in 2 weeks indicates Trump hasn't stopped trying to influence monetary policy. Reports suggest Powell is sending message to markets and international community that Fed will maintain independence despite ongoing intimidation attempts. And there's specific context about what Powell said. He explained that every advanced economy democracy has come around to common practice of separating elected official control from monetary policy setting. That this isn't about protecting policymakers, but about preventing political manipulation of economy through election cycles. Sources suggest Powell is building public record establishing that Fed independence is international norm among countries like United States. That losing it would damage institutional credibility in ways difficult to restore. Think about audience for these statements. Powell is speaking over Trump's head directly to Supreme Court justices who might have to rule on Fed independence challenges. He's speaking to international investors who need assurance American monetary policy won't be politicized. He's speaking to Congress establishing record that could support legislation protecting Fed. Reports indicate these aren't casual remarks, but carefully constructed defenses of institutional independence under sustained attack. Share this with everyone because there's question of what Trump might do next. Sources suggest he's attempted multiple angles of attack, criminal investigation into renovations, going after Governor Lisa Cook, which Supreme Court blocked, threatening to fire Powell, though legal authority to do so is questionable. Each attempt has failed, but patterns suggest Trump won't stop trying. And Powell's repeated public statements indicate he recognizes sustained nature of threat and is building defenses accordingly. But step back and consider why Fed independence matters so critically, especially now. Because Trump's economic policies are failing across every metric as data shows. Consumer confidence crashed, oil prices spiking, dollar weakening, trade deficit exploding. If Trump also controlled interest rates, sources suggest he would slash them to artificially stimulate economy before midterms, regardless of inflation consequences. That short-term political manipulation would create long-term economic disaster through hyperinflation. Powell and Federal Reserve are holding line on rates despite Trump pressure because they're worried about inflation. Reports indicate they've already cut rates 3 times, but won't continue because economic instability Trump created makes additional cuts dangerous. If Fed lost independence and had to follow Trump's political demands, that careful economic management would disappear. You'd see interest rate policy designed to help Trump's re-election prospects rather than maintaining economic stability. And there's international dimension. Global markets trust Federal Reserve because of its independence. If that independence disappeared and monetary policy became political tool, international confidence in dollar would collapse. Sources suggest capital flight, currency crisis, potential economic catastrophe would follow if world believed American interest rates were set by Trump's political needs rather than sound economic analysis. Make sure you're subscribed to John Brown Show because there's also timeline consideration. Powell's term ends in few months. Trump will get to appoint new Fed chair. Question is whether that person maintains independence or becomes Trump loyalist who politicizes monetary policy, and whether Trump eventually gets enough Federal Reserve Board seats to control institution and fire regional bank presidents. Sources suggest fight over Fed independence might intensify as Trump tries to reshape institution before his term ends. So here's what Powell's defiance reveals. Fed chairman has now publicly refused Trump pressure twice in 2 weeks, declaring Fed will maintain independence and set rates based on economic conditions, not political preferences. This comes as every economic indicator shows Trump's policies failing catastrophically. Consumer confidence at worst levels since 2012. Oil spiking from $58 to $70 per barrel. Dollar weakening. Trade deficit doubled despite tariffs. Powell's stewardship might be only thing preventing complete economic collapse as he navigates turbulence Trump created. His statements build public record defending institutional independence while sending message to markets that Fed won't be politicized. Question is whether Powell can maintain that independence through remaining months or whether Trump finds way to capture central bank and use monetary policy for political purposes. Stay tuned.